If you can zip your jeans, but the waist just feels uncomfortably tight, then here's a nice fix for you. Below the waistband, jeans have a lot of ease. They're much bigger right here than they are at the waist. For this fix, we're going to be hiding a seam right behind this label. If your jeans don't have a label like that, then just steal a label from another pair of jeans. You'll also just need a little scrap of fabric. It doesn't even necessarily have to match because it's not going to show. There's going to be some stitch removal to do, so either a regular seam ripper or if you have one of these scalpel kind, this is fantastic for working with denim. We're going to remove the waistband from about an inch past this pocket all the way around the back to about an inch from this pocket so that we don't have to deal with the belt loop or this rivet. We'll be removing the tops of these 3 belt loops, but leaving the bottom attached. We'll remove the top of the label, but leave the bottom attached. And then we'll take off the whole waistband. I also want to remove this stay stitching because we want to be able to stretch this denim. So on a chain stitch like this, sometimes you can just find the right place to pull and the chain stitch comes out. And then with that chain stitch gone, the denim's going to be able to stretch a lot more. So now we can see that that waistband is giving just enough stretch that if we expand the waistband to meet it, it's going to be comfortable. I'll make a soap mark in the middle of where this label was sitting, and that's where I'm going to cut. When I'm stretching like this, I can feel the pant stretches way more than the waistband. And I can see that my wax mark is a little closer to one side. So I'm going to cut right here. I'll want to undo a little bit of the chain stitch around the top, just so I can flatten out the top edge of the waistband. This shows me the width of the piece of fabric I want to cut to replace it. And I want to cut it the length of this label. Which is 4 1/4 inches or 11 centimeters. And the width of my piece is the same as my label, which is 2 3/4 inches or 7 centimeters. So I'll just be sewing this little piece into my waistband. Make sure my waistband does not get twisted. And it's great if you do have some yellow denim thread, but you can get away with it without. So that's going to sew right back in and the label's going to cover the seam. And if it doesn't cover the seam, I'm just going to move the label. I pinned it like this and then tried it on to make sure I wasn't adding more than I needed. And then I'm just going to sew those 2 little seams. And I don't even need a denim needle. The denim's pretty soft. So my waistband has expanded by 1 1/4 inches or 3 centimeters. And now I just want to do some patient pinning to get this all back together. So I'm going to find the new centers. So if I'm stretching evenly like that, there's my new center. So I just want to have this waistband evenly distributed. So if I get the center of the waistband to the center of the jeans, give it a good stretch and make sure that that's evenly distributed. And then pin in the original line of sewing and back out through the original line of sewing on that side. It shouldn't be too hard to do this all in one go. And my patch did not land right under my label, so no problem. I'm just going to move the label right over. All my pins pointing to my left right now so that they're in line for me when I sew this back on. And it's amazing, isn't it? Like the jeans have just easily stretched to meet the new waistband, which is a full 1 1/4 inches or 3 centimeters longer than it was. I'll just check my pinning to make sure that I'm catching that edge on the back with all of my pins. I don't want to miss the edge of this waistband. Looking pretty good. And now with a good top stitch thread, I'll just sew right in that same line. And now, since I'm using that thicker thread, I really need to switch to a denim needle. So I'm using the denim needle not because of the thickness of the denim, But because of the thickness of the thread, it needs the larger eye to pass through so that the thread doesn't get shredded. I should turn up the stitch length as well. So I moved to a longer stitch length of 3.5 millimeters. It just looks better on a heavy fabric on the top stitching if the stitch is a little bit longer. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Now the belt loop is going to come back up and you can see where it was before, so it's moved ahead just that little bit. I'm going to leave the remnants of that bar tack there, and I'm just going to do a regular back tack over it, just so it looks a little bit more authentic. And now the difference between the belt loop now and the original one is a little bit more of a difference as we move around the waistband. And just go slowly over thick parts like that. If you're not sure if your machine can handle it, then just go slow. You can sink your needle down first if that helps. Overall, it's managing. And then the label just goes back on. Probably easiest if I don't start at a corner. I'm covering over my patch. Sink the needle down kind of in the middle. And then I just want to walk it to make sure that my stitch length is kind of in line with the original holes. That'll just look a little bit better. So I think a 4 millimeter stitch will do it here. See, did that do it? Oh, I could even go a little longer. So I'll try 4.5. It's really thick right here. If my machine can't handle it, I'll just pound that with a hammer a few times and that'll flatten out the fibers in that area, but we'll see. And the 4.5 millimeter stitch seems to be perfect, and it went through that really thick spot just nicely. Oops, I missed my holes there. Oh well. I missed my holes a little bit there, so Sherlock Holmes would know that I have altered my waistband. I don't think anybody else will know, though. Looking pretty good. And yay, I've got my comfy jeans back. And only Sherlock Holmes will know that they've been altered.